Did Brandy really unalive someone for real? Brandy might be a R&B icon, but she did also take a woman's life right in front of the woman's kids. And when things got out of hand, Brandy tried to blame the dead woman for the accident. But was it really an accident? Or is there some dark secret to it? And did Brandy really manage to get away with murder? So, some people, or a lot of people, may not remember this, but back in 2006, Brandy was involved in a car accident that killed the woman and left many other people with injuries. The accident happened on December 30th, 2006. And has definitely been the biggest scandal of Brandy's entire career for obvious reasons. According to news reports, she was driving a 2007 Land Rover on the 405 freeway on December 30th when the collision occurred. She failed to slow down and struck the back of a 2005 Honda at about 65 miles per hour. The initial reports claimed that Brandy was driving too fast on the freeway and was being negligent, so she didn't notice that the cars in front of her had slowed down considerably. She slammed into the car in front of her at a high speed and with so much force that the car rammed into the car in front of it and went spinning into the center divider before getting hit by another car. So yeah, it was a really bad accident. The car that Brandy hit had 3 occupants: a woman named Awatef Aboudihaj and her 2 sons. Awatef's car was hit by a woman named Mallory Ham, and even though Mallory and Awatef's son survived the crash, Awatef was not so lucky because she passed away from her injuries the day after the accident, with her cause of death listed as being from blunt force injury. The coroner's office also ruled the death to be an accident. Brandy had 0 injuries from the crash, but according to eyewitnesses at the scene, she was so disoriented that she was running in front of cars on the highway, saying that it was all her fault.
What witnesses say and what she seemed to indicate at the scene is she was just going too fast. She was going 65, traffic had slowed down. That means it's her fault. And then there are consequences.
An eyewitness at the scene spoke to TMZ saying she got upset, talking about how it was all her fault. She didn't stop, kept saying how she hit the lady. Brandy walked in front of traffic, crossing the lanes of speeding cars. Then she did it again. People were honking at her to get out of the road. She was obviously disoriented and highly upset. I'm gonna need y'all to keep this part in mind, cause we're gonna get back to it in a minute. A few days after the crash, her publicist released a statement saying Brandy was involved in a car accident December 30th, 2006 in Los Angeles where there was a fatality. She wishes to publicly express her condolences to the family of the deceased. Brandy asks that you respect the privacy of everyone involved at this time. As expected, it was only a matter of time before the lawsuits started coming in. And boy, did Brandy get sued. It was like every single person who was involved with the crash wanted to sue Brandy. And honestly, I don't think anybody can blame them. Awatef's family lost their mother, and her sons not only got injured, but they also witnessed the accident that caused their mother her life. And that can be quite traumatizing. Mallory also sued, as well as the man in the car that Awatef had first rammed into before she went into spinning. Awatef's family was the first to sue Brandy, and her parents filing a lawsuit against Brandy for $50 million for wrongful death, saying defendant Brandy Norwood was driving recklessly in the freeway when her car collided with Awatef Aboudihaj's car. But that wasn't all, because a separate wrongful death lawsuit was filed against Brandy on behalf of Awatef's sons, who were with her at the time of the crash. But the exact figures of the lawsuit were not made public. The lawyers claimed that the reason the sons had a separate lawsuit was that they were in the car crash, and not only did they lose their mother, but they also sustained long-lasting injuries. Brandy's lawyer released released another statement saying, "The accident was a terrible tragedy, and Brandy's heart goes out to the Awatef Abodihaj's family. But for legal reasons, we cannot comment on this lawsuit." And while this wasn't a bad thing to say, Brandy's personal response to the lawsuit was what caused an uproar in the media. In a statement to TMZ, Brandy said that she denies each and every allegation in the complaint and further denies that the plaintiffs have been damaged in any sum or sums whatever. She alleges and asserts her Fifth Amendment privileges and asks that the matter go to trial before a jury. I love Brandy, but she really should have just kept quiet because that did not make her look good at all. But those lawsuits were not the only ones brought by victims' families, because the victim's husband also brought a lawsuit of his own against Brandy. According to TMZ, the husband claimed that Brandy and another motorist named Mallory Ham were recklessly and carelessly traveling too fast for conditions and following too closely on the 405 highway, which factored into the collision that killed his wife, Awatef Abodihaj. As a result of his wife's death, he claims in the lawsuit that he has forever been deprived the support and maintenance services, guidance, companionship, comfort, affection, and other benefits from his wife. He is suing for an undisclosed amount of financial relief to cover medical and funeral expenses, as well as legal costs and other damages. This was a hot mess. But the drama was far from over because the woman in the other car, Mallory Ham, she also sued Brandy. Now, it is to be believed that Awatef's injuries and eventful death were caused by Mallory hitting her car. But then, that wouldn't have happened if Brandy hadn't hit her first, right? Well, Mallory decided to sue Brandy as well, claiming that Brandy recklessly, wantonly, unlawfully, and maliciously operated the car responsible for causing a deadly collision on the 405 freeway last December. According to the document, Ham, who says she was severely injured, is demanding that the singer pay for an unspecified medical bills, pain and suffering, legal costs, and punitive damages. Apart from these lawsuits, Brandy was also in trouble with the police because they pushed for her to be charged with vehicular manslaughter. Of course, on the outside, Brandy was full of guilt, but people believed that she didn't really feel that much guilt because her actions in private didn't show that she was remorseful. For an example, a few weeks after the accident, she was photographed by paparazzi using her phone while driving. And for someone who had been in an accident where someone actually died, that was just horrible. Like, that wasn't bad enough. She was also photographed doing her thing in Hollywood, going to parties and clubs in the weeks following the accident.
Is that Brandy? Is that Brandy?
She knew. Happy birthday, Monster. I knew you were coming.
It was like she wasn't even trying very hard to appear remorseful. And I think she was lucky that social media wasn't so popular back then, because she would have gotten smoked online and gotten dragged for weeks. I mean, she even told the paparazzi that she planned to have a good time at her friend's birthday.
Says what's up?
Huh?
Team C says hello.
Hi, Team C.
Is it your birthday?
Alrighty. No, it's my friend's birthday.
All right, you guys gonna go out celebrating tonight?
Yep, we're gonna have a good time.
You enjoy.
Thanks for being here.
All right.
The family of the victim was angry, seeing Brandy just living her life as if nothing had happened. And honestly, I don't blame them, because I would have been pretty mad too. I think what made the family's anger even worse is that they didn't exactly get justice from the police. It took months for the investigation to be completed because they had to determine the cause of the crash, rule out any mechanical malfunction from Brandy's car, and other stuff like that. Now, this is where things started to get heated up.
The California Highway Patrol is recommending that actress-singer Brandy be charged with misdemeanor vehicular manslaughter in a freeway crash that killed a motorist last December in Los Angeles. The recommendation comes after a CHP probe of the incident.
Brandy had no intention of going to prison or even getting punished. So, she and her team decided to divert the blame to someone else, and they pinned the blame on the dead victim, Awatef. I mean, it's not like she could have said anything to defend herself, right? And this made her the perfect scapegoat. Her team claimed that Awatef actually struck the vehicle in front of her before Brandy made any contact. The law enforcement source says Awatef Abodihaj, the woman who died, struck the car in front of her, which was going 65 miles per hour, and then slammed on her brakes. We're told the sudden stop caused Brandy to hit the woman's car. What's more, LA County Coroner's spokesperson Captain Ed Winter tells TMZ that toxicology report shows Abodihaj had slight traces of marijuana in her system at the time of the crash. I find it interesting that Brandy and her team tried to pin that crash on Awatef when Brandy herself admitted at the scene of the incident that it was her fault. I mean, I get that she was desperate not to go to jail, but come on, girl, come on now. But luckily for her, the city prosecutors decided that there wasn't enough evidence to take the case to trial, and the case was eventually dropped. A spokesperson said after conducting a thorough investigation, which included consulting with some of the top accident reconstruction experts in the county, city prosecutors concluded that there were insufficient evidence from which a jury could find Ms. Norwood guilty of such a charge beyond a reasonable doubt. Her lawyer then released a statement saying, "These past 12 months have been extraordinarily hard for Brandy and her family, who have unfairly forced to live under a cloud of suspicion initially caused by an ill-advised and premature press release sent out by the California Highway Patrol accusing Brandy of wrongdoing before the police investigation was even finished." But even with that, she still had the pending lawsuits that were brought against her by the victim. Even though she initially wanted to go to court, she eventually decided to settle out of court, effectively bringing the case to an end. Even though it's been years since the accident, people are still super critical of Brandy and the role she played in it. Someone commented, "I feel so bad for Miss Abodihaj's husband. I can only imagine the pain he feels in his heart watching Brandy act so cavalier days after killing his wife. My heart goes out to him, and she deserves to be charged. Also, weed stays in your system for up to a month. Them bringing that up is just dirty." Another person said, "Celebrity or not, she should still have been prosecuted. Someone lost their life, and even worse, she was a mama." And this other person commented, "I remember when this happened, I was shocked it wasn't bigger news and that Brandy wasn't prosecuted. I think about those poor kids and how they were in the car when their mom passed." This accident is something that Brandy doesn't like to talk about at all, and for obvious reasons. But this is something that she's never going to be able to run away from. Anyways, let me know what you think. Was Brandy to be blamed? And while you are here, check out the other video, and I'll see y'all in my next video.